Today, we're diving into the amazing world of para-snowboarding. And trust me, it's a story that's about so much more than just what happens on the snow. It's really all about innovation and this constant, incredible quest to make things totally fair. So let's jump right in.
Okay, so here's the plan. We'll kick things off with where the sport came from. Then we'll get into the really cool part, how they keep it fair. We'll break down the different classes, look at its journey to the Paralympics, and then, peek into the future. All right, Section 1, from adaptive to para-snowboarding. So what is this sport, really? Well, before it hit the big time at the Paralympics, it actually went by a different name, adaptive snowboarding. And it all started with this super passionate grassroots community of athletes who, just wanted to get out there and ride. So yeah, on the surface, the sport is all about incredible balance and just pure guts. But there's this third thing, this secret ingredient that makes it all work as a world-class competition. And that is classification. This is where things get really fascinating. So who competes? Well, it's a sport for hundreds of athletes all over the world with all kinds of physical impairments. We're talking limb loss, nerve damage, cerebral palsy. And that huge range of athletes is exactly what makes the sport so cool and so dynamic. But it also presents a massive challenge, right? The big question is, how do you possibly make a race fair? And if you want to feel for just how inspiring the sport is, get this. At the 2014 Winter Paralympics in Sochi, this Aussie kid, Ben Tudhope, he was the youngest competitor there, out of everyone from every country, and he was just 14 years old. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about the passion in this community. Okay, so that brings us to our next big topic, the art of fair competition. Because really, this is the whole shebang. Why is this classification thing so important? Yeah, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, think about it. You've got one athlete with, say, an above-the-knee amputation racing against another who has an impairment in their upper arm. How in the world do you make that a fair race? How do you make sure the person who wins is the best snowboarder, not just the person whose disability has less of an impact on their performance? Well, the answer is actually something you've seen before, probably without even thinking about it. It's basically like weight classes in boxing, right? You wouldn't throw a heavyweight and a featherweight into the same ring. It's the same idea here. It's all about grouping athletes so that the real competition is about skill and strategy and pure talent. So that's what classification is. It is, and I mean this literally, the bedrock of all parasport. It's this whole system for grouping athletes based on how much their impairment affects what they can do on a snowboard. The whole point is to guarantee that when somebody stands on that podium with a gold medal, it's because they were, without a doubt, the best athlete that day. All right, Section 3, decoding the classifications. So we know why it's so important, but how does it actually work? Let's get into the details, and just to make it interesting, there's not just one system out there. Okay, so for the biggest show on Earth, the Paralympics, the International Paralympic Committee, the IPC, keeps it to three main classes. First, you've got SBUL. That's for athletes with upper limb impairments, anything that affects their balance. Then you've got 2 for lower limbs. SBLL1 is for more significant impairments, think an amputation above the knee. And SBLL2 is for less severe impairments, like one below the knee. But that's not the only game in town. The World Snowboard Federation, or WSF, has a totally different approach. Their system is way bigger, with more than a dozen classes. They even have categories for visually impaired athletes. So what's the difference? Well, it's all about the goal. The IPC's system is super focused, streamlined for that top-tier, elite Paralympic competition. The WSF, on the other hand, is all about being more inclusive for everyone at every level of the sport. So just to be super clear here, when you tune into the Paralympics, you're watching the IPC system in action. That focused 3-class system is the one that counts when it comes to winning those coveted Paralympic medals. And that's a perfect lead-in to our next part, the Paralympic dream. I mean, getting into the games is the absolute peak for any parasport. But for snowboarding, man, it was a real fight to get there. Yeah, this wasn't some easy straight shot to the top. Not at all. The entire community had to fight for years just to get the recognition they knew they deserved. It took so much grit, so much persistence. They just flat out refused to take no for an answer. And this timeline, it really shows you what a roller coaster it was. So things kick off in 2000 with the first official comp. The sport grows and grows, but then bam, 2011. The IPC says no. They reject it for the Paralympics, a huge blow.
But then, in this crazy turnaround, just 1 year later, they reversed the decision. They're in for Sochi 2014. Talk about a comeback story, right? And you can just feel the excitement in this quote from the president of the Sochi 2014 committee. He said, "Snowboarding is a young and exciting sport. Its inclusion will highlight the opportunities that sport provides everyone." See, it wasn't just about adding another event. It was about bringing in this fresh, new energy, showing the world what's possible through sport. So that debut in Sochi was absolutely massive. And the first ever women's event? Wow. It was like the perfect climax to that whole long fight for recognition. And the first women's gold medalist was...
First, here's the time. 1 minute, 57.43 seconds. That number is now officially etched in history.
And the athlete who posted that historic time? The incredible Bibian Mentelspie of the Netherlands. Just a legendary run that put her and the whole sport into the history books forever. All right, last section. What's next for the sport? I mean, after that kind of debut, where do you even go? Well, the future is fast, and it's only getting bigger and better. So, Sochi was a smash hit. The tickets sold out like crazy. And they kept that momentum going. For the next games in 2018, they added a whole new event, slalom. And they even started talking about changing snowboard cross from just a race against the clock to a full-on head-to-head format. Can you imagine how exciting that would be? And that really leaves us with one last big question to think about. This sport is never going to stand still. The athletes just keep getting faster, the gear gets better, they're always pushing the limits. So as all of that happens, how will the art of classification keep up? How does it continue to evolve to keep things fair while keeping all that incredible excitement? It's a constant balancing act, and it's what will shape the future of the sport.